So it's very much emphasized in my mind how in order to understand things that never happened in my lifetime, I have to study history.
投资大师达利欧的核心智慧，所有让你震惊的市场巨变，其实都只是历史周期的重演。看懂历史，才能洞察先机，把握财富。
Ray, why don't you start off? You've always been interested in investing, but then in 1971, you were a clerk at the exchange. Nixon goes on TV on Sunday. Tell us what happened then and what you learned.
Okay, well, I'm clerking on the floor of the exchange, 1971. President Nixon announces to the world that the United States is defaulting on its obligation to take that paper that they have, which was like checks in a checkbook, and give them the gold.
Close the gold window.
Close the gold window. So he defaulted on the obligation to pay the money because the gold was running down. They didn't have enough, and it was like a bank run. So I walk onto the exchange floor expecting...
You went early because you thought...
Yeah. I expect that there's going to be a chaos and things would be bad. And the stock market went up the most in decades. And I didn't understand it. And that's because that was the first time a devaluation happened. I never went through one of those. And I studied history, and I found the exact same thing happened on March 5th, 1933, except it was with Roosevelt and a radio rather than a TV. And the exact same thing. And the stock market went up a lot. And so what I learned, and I had this repeatedly in my life, that things that surprised me often surprised me because they didn't happen in my lifetime, but they happened many times in history. So for example, by studying that the 1920s to the 1945 period, I saw that I understood the nature of the 2008 financial crisis. When we anticipated the 2008 financial crisis, because what happens when you have a lot of debt and interest rates at zero? How does that work? And that dynamic is what happened in 2008. And so it's very much emphasized in my mind how in order to understand things that never happened in my lifetime, I have to study history. And there were three major things. There are three major things that are now happening in our lifetime that didn't happen other than you'd have to go back in history. Those three things are we're producing an enormous amount of debt, particularly government debt, but a lot of debt, and monetizing that in amounts that you would have to go back to the 1930 to 45 period. Number two, we have a level of internal conflict. The largest wealth gaps since back then, the largest internal conflict and populism of the left and the right in our country and at war. And a populist is an individual who will not accept losing. They'll win at all costs. So that dynamic is new. You have to go back really to the 30s around the world or before. So in order to see that, I needed to then study the past 500 years of history. Now I know people think it's odd because here I am. I'm just trying to make money in the markets. I'm a practical guy dealing with that. But we would not understand that. And the picture of the world is a very different picture than we have grown used to because of the nature of these longer term cycles.